In the world of pop music, even the biggest stars sometimes have periods where their releases don't perform as expected. In this video, we look at 8 flop eras that didn't last long. Rihanna's pre-Anti era. Leading up to her 2016 album Anti, Rihanna released several singles that, despite her established superstar status, struggled to make a significant impact. For 5 Seconds, a collaboration with Kanye West and Paul McCartney, was supposed to be the lead single to her new era, following Unapologetic. It did well on the charts, but it couldn't find its way on an album. Then Bitch Better Have My Money followed. Even though it was released with a high-budget music video, it didn't achieve her usual chart dominance, only peaking at number 15 on the Billboard Hot 100. Then it was American Oxygen, a politically conscious single that showed her willingness to experiment with different sounds and themes. However, it only peaked at number 78 on the Billboard Hot 100. This period of exploration was a search for a new artistic direction. The singles lacked the commercial success typical of Rihanna's earlier work and couldn't kickstart a new era. The anticipation for her next album grew, with fans and critics eager to see how she would navigate this transitional phase. The release of Work in 2016 marked a pivotal turning point. The dancehall-infused track featuring Drake went straight to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and stayed there for 9 weeks, reaffirming Rihanna's dominance in the pop landscape. It served as the lead single for Anti, which ended up becoming Rihanna's best album in my opinion, and is still her latest. Rihanna's willingness to take creative risks ultimately led to a resurgence, solidifying her status as a versatile pop icon. Justin Bieber's post-journals phase. In December 2013, Justin Bieber released Journals, a compilation album that showcased a more mature R&B influenced sound. Despite its artistic ambition, the project received mixed reviews and did not achieve significant commercial success because of the weird release strategy, and it was also not supported by the label, so it never managed to chart on the Billboard 200, which led to a period of relative quiet for Bieber's musical output. This hiatus was full of personal challenges and public scrutiny, causing some to question if his career was dying. During this time, Bieber faced legal issues and negative media attention, which further complicated his career trajectory. The lack of new music and ongoing controversies contributed to a bad perception in the public eye, and behind the scenes, he was undergoing personal growth and reevaluating his artistic direction. In 2015, he made a remarkable comeback with the release of Where Are You Now, a collaboration with Skrillex and Diplo. The song's innovative blend of electronic and pop elements made it a hit, reaching number 8 on the Billboard Hot 100. This success paved the way for his 4th studio album Purpose, which featured hits like Sorry and Love Yourself, and became his most successful album. It brought Bieber back to the top of the charts and took him to new heights he has never reached before. The Weeknd's Dawn FM era. Released in January 2022, The Weeknd's Dawn FM marked a shift, embracing the 80s-inspired synth-pop sound even more. Critically, the album was well received, but commercially, it didn't achieve the same level of success as its predecessor After Hours. Despite it being a cohesive narrative album, none of the singles became significant hits, leading fans to question the album's impact. The underwhelming commercial performance could be because of several factors. The album's release strategy involved minimal promotion, which may have limited its reach. Additionally, the public was getting tired of that sound from The Weeknd. All the singles were great, but didn't do as expected on the charts, with Take My Breath peaking at number 6, Sacrifice peaking at number 11, and Out of Time peaking at number 32. Despite the lukewarm commercial reception, Dawn FM showcased his willingness to explore new artistic directions. The era was relatively short-lived, with The Weeknd quickly moving on to new projects. He is now in the midst of completing the trilogy, with Hurry Up Tomorrow set to release at the beginning of 2025. Lady Gaga's Joanne era. In 2016, Lady Gaga released Joanne, venturing into a stripped-down country-inspired sound. The album was personal and was dedicated to her late aunt Joanne. Critically, it received mixed reviews. Some praised her risk-taking, while others felt it lacked the innovation of her earlier work. Commercially, the album debuted on number 1 on the Billboard 200, but its singles didn't achieve the same success as her previous hits. The lead single, Perfect Illusion, peaked on number 15 on the Billboard Hot 100, a modest position compared to her earlier chart toppers. It was followed up with Million Reasons, which peaked on number 4. The era's aesthetics and musical direction didn't connect with the audience. The Joanne era was disappointing, with Gaga transitioning to other projects, including her acclaimed role in A Star Is Born, and the accompanying soundtrack that got her praise from the critics and multiple awards, including an Academy Award. When Shallow from the album topped the charts, it was a return to form for Gaga after a short flop era. Beyoncé's 4 era. Released in 2011, Beyoncé's fourth studio album 4 was a huge shift in her career, with Beyoncé having more creative control over her music. The album showcased a more personal side of her, blending genres like R&B, soul, and even African music. Despite its artistic ambition, 4 did not achieve the commercial success of her earlier albums. The album's lead single, Run the World Girls, received mixed reviews and underperformed on the charts, peaking at number 29 on the Billboard Hot 100. This period was challenging, as the music industry was shifting towards electronic dance music, and the sound of the singles couldn't gain traction on the charts. However, the album is a cult classic, with some of her fans even calling it her best album. Beyoncé's response to this lukewarm reception was legendary. In 2013, she released her self-titled visual album without any prior announcement, a groundbreaking move that redefined music release strategies. The album received widespread critical acclaim and became a commercial success, debuting at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. It brought Beyoncé back to the top of the charts and solidified her position as a pop icon. Mariah Carey's early 2000s era. In the early 2000s, Mariah Carey faced a series of professional setbacks. Her 2001 film Glitter and its accompanying soundtrack were both critical and commercial failures. The album was released on 9/11, so that was also unfortunate timing. This period was further complicated by health issues that sidelined her for a while, that also affected its promotion. Her next album, Charm Bracelets in 2002, aimed to restore her position in the music industry. While it performed better than Glitter, it was only a moderate success. Failing to produce major hit singles, it continued her flop era, but she made a huge comeback. With the release of The Emancipation of Mimi in 2005, the album was a return to form, blending modern R&B with her signature vocals. It was both a critical and commercial success, spawning hit singles like We Belong Together, which topped the Billboard Hot 100 for 14 weeks and ended the 2000s as the biggest song of the decade. This resurgence brought Mariah back to the mainstream, as she is now one of the biggest artists ever, with the most #1 singles. Kelly Clarkson's My December era. Following the massive success of her sophomore album Breakaway, Kelly Clarkson wanted more creative control for her third studio album My December, released in 2007. Diverging from the mainstream pop rock sound that catapulted her to fame, she wrote all the tracks, infusing the album with a darker, more personal tone. This shift led to tensions with her label RCA, which reportedly preferred her more commercially viable direction. Despite that, the album debuted at number 2 on the Billboard 200, selling 291,000 copies in its first week. It received mixed reviews and underperformed compared to its predecessor. The lead single Never Again peaked at a modest number 8 on the Billboard Hot 100, and the next singles failed to make a significant impact. However, this era was short-lived. Kelly rebounded with her 2009 album All I Ever Wanted, which marked a return to a more polished pop sound. The lead single, My Life Would Suck Without You, went straight to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, solidifying her status as a pop powerhouse. Even though it was an underachievement, the My December era ultimately led to Kelly's growth as an artist. Miley Cyrus's Can't Be Tamed era. In 2010, Miley Cyrus released her third studio album Can't Be Tamed, signaling an intentional move away from her Disney Channel persona. The album featured a more mature sound and provocative imagery, aiming to establish her as an adult artist. The title track and the lead single Can't Be Tamed debuted at number 8 on the Billboard Hot 100. Despite its strong start, the album received mixed reviews and did not achieve the commercial success she wanted. Critics and fans were divided over Miley's new direction, with some viewing it as a forced attempt to shed her wholesome image. The album peaked at number 3 on the Billboard 200, but quickly fell off the charts, and the next singles failed to gain significant traction. After the era, Miley took a hiatus from music to focus on acting. She returned to the music scene in 2013, with the album Bangers, embracing a new edgier image that resonated more with audiences. The lead single We Can't Stop and the controversial Wrecking Ball both achieved significant commercial success, marking a successful reinvention and leaving the Can't Be Tamed era as a fleeting, forgotten moment in her career. Which short flop eras did I miss? Tell me in the comments below.